In the mud and chaos of northern France in 1916, Major Peter Norman Nissen walked among soldiers struggling to survive the cold. Canvas tents collapsed under snow, timber was scarce, and makeshift shelters offered little protection from the wind and rain. Men froze while supply depots overflowed with unused corrugated iron sheets, rusting quietly in the mud. Nissen, a Canadian-born mining engineer serving with the Royal Engineers, saw what others overlooked. These simple sheets could become the foundation for a shelter that was fast to build, strong, and transportable. He began sketching designs in a soldier's notebook, drawing half circles and marking precise angles. The genius of his concept was simplicity. What if the roof itself became the walls? What if strength came from the curve? Within days, he constructed a crude prototype. A half-cylinder of bent steel sheets, joined at the seams, stood without beams or pillars. 6 ordinary soldiers, none trained in construction, assembled it using basic army tools. In less than 4 hours, a new type of shelter defied the elements. The design evolved quickly. Nissen experimented with dimensions, materials, and assembly techniques. Pre-drilled corrugated sheets replaced improvised cuts, and wooden ends with doors and windows were added. Packing diagrams ensured the hut could fit inside a 3-ton truck alongside space for 3 men. Every aspect was engineered for speed, precision, and practicality. By March 1916, the British Army approved testing. At Richborough Port, the 172nd Tunnelling Company assembled 20 huts in a matter of days. Officers were stunned. A shelter that could be shipped, unpacked, and erected anywhere, without skilled builders or delay. Nissen had created not just a hut, but a blueprint for survival on the front lines. After the initial prototype proved successful, Nissen set about refining the design for mass production. Pre-drilled corrugated sheets replaced. Improvised cuts, ensuring uniformity and faster assembly. Wooden ends were prefabricated with doors and windows, ready to bolt into place. Nissen worked with draftsmen to create foolproof packing diagrams, showing how each hut could fit inside a 3-ton truck, leaving room for 3 men. Every detail focused on speed, efficiency, and minimal labor. In March 1916, the British Army conducted formal testing at Richborough Port. The 172nd Tunnelling Company assembled 20 huts in a matter of days. Officers were astonished. Here was a shelter that could be shipped, transported, and erected anywhere by untrained soldiers, with no carpenters or architects required. Following the successful trials, the War Office ordered 10,000 units before the onset of winter. By the time the Somme offensive intensified later that year, Nissen huts were rising behind the lines faster than trenches could be dug. The curved design was the key to their resilience. By eliminating vertical walls, stress was evenly distributed along the shell, allowing blast waves and shrapnel to deflect harmlessly. Overlapping bolts created a continuous, strong surface. Inside, wooden floors kept soldiers off the wet ground, and adjustable vents improved airflow, reducing condensation. Field hospitals adopted the huts quickly, erecting them under artillery fire to shelter the wounded. Each hut could be placed on wooden sleepers, concrete, or directly on packed earth, adapting to the needs of the front. By 1918, over 100,000 Nissen huts stood across Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. From barracks to supply depots, each curved shell embodied a combination of practicality, speed, and ingenuity that made the British war effort more resilient than ever. After the war, Peter Nissen returned to civilian life in 1919, quietly holding the patent for his design. He never profited significantly, yet his creation had already reshaped military engineering. 2 decades later, in 1941, American engineers studied the British Nissen hut blueprints to solve their own wartime shelter needs. Admiring the elegance and simplicity, they nonetheless altered the design, producing the Quonset hut at Quonset Point Naval Air Station in Rhode Island. The Quonset was larger, heavier, and more insulated than its British predecessor. Typical dimensions were 16 by 36 feet, later expanded to 20 by 48 feet, with plywood ends, doors, and insulation added for comfort. American engineers prioritized durability and livable space, but in doing so, they changed the curvature. The structural perfection that allowed Nissen huts to stand with minimal materials was slightly compromised. Quonsets required more materials, and sometimes a prepared foundation, reducing the efficiency and portability that defined Nissen's original concept. Despite these differences, the Quonset hut became a symbol of American logistical power. Within 60 days of prototyping, production models rolled out, ready to be shipped anywhere. Across Pacific Islands, from Guadalcanal to Okinawa, Quonsets became essential infrastructure for landing bases, hospitals, and barracks. Soldiers nicknamed them tin cans or half-moons, recognizing both their distinctive shape and their reliability. The huts offered shelter in harsh environments, where timber and skilled labor were scarce, even if they were heavier and less optimized than Nissen's original design. While the Americans emphasized comfort and adaptability, the core principle of speed and transportability endured. The Quonset hut demonstrated that the essence of Nissen's design could survive adaptation, even if its mathematical perfection and minimalism were slightly altered in the process. After the Second World War, both Nissen and Quonset huts found new lives beyond military use. In Britain, thousands of Nissen huts were repurposed as farm buildings, garages, community, halls, and storage units. Their simple, curved steel shells allowed quick adaptation, requiring minimal labor and materials. Across America, Quonset huts were sold to civilians, transformed into homes, classrooms, churches, and workshops. Their larger size and insulation made them comfortable, though less material efficient than the original Nissen design. Peter Norman Nissen died in 1930, before witnessing the full global impact of his invention. Yet his design endured, quietly shaping both military logistics and civilian architecture. The British military had built a structure optimized for survival and speed, while the Americans had scaled and adapted it for comfort and versatility. Both shared a lineage rooted in necessity and ingenuity. Even decades later, the legacy of Nissen's concept remains visible. Scattered across the Midwest, the Pacific Islands, and former European battlefields, curved steel shelters, often rusted, but standing, testify to the enduring strength of the design. Modern disaster relief shelters, emergency prefabs, and temporary field structures still borrow principles, first proven in 1916: speed of construction, portability, and structural efficiency. The story of the Nissen hut illustrates how a single innovative solution, born from urgency and observation, can outlast empires and wars. It is a testament to human ingenuity, engineering simplicity, and the quiet impact of thoughtful design. The curve of a simple sheet of steel, drawn in a soldier's notebook, continues to protect and serve, reminding the world that necessity often drives the most enduring creations.